We are headed to the Arnold Classic. It's Wednesday morning, and Tampa Airport, long-term parking. I love long-term parking in Tampa Airport because you can walk right into the terminal. And if you don't got to check a bag, you walk right onto the plane. It's crazy. Yeah, it's Wednesday morning. The NPC competition is Thursday morning. So yeah, we're here for it. And then we've got Friday, Saturday with the expo, home Sunday. So let's document a little bit. I believe this is my 16th year going to the Arnold Classic. Yeah, I'm old. All right, Tampa to Columbus. Warm to cold, let's go. All right, guys, so it's been a few weeks since the Arnold, so I figured I'd take all the footage from the Arnold, put it together for you guys. I like doing these travel vlogs, so be sure to comment below if you like seeing this footage, because I had 6 amazing competitors, and I'm very blessed to coach such amazing athletes. But you saw my getting into Columbus, so I'm just going to jump right into some of the clips so you can kind of just go through the days with me. This year, the Arnold was actually on Thursday, so I flew into Ohio on Wednesday and went straight to the gym. Tampa to Columbus direct is about 2.5 hours. This is the pros gym. That was Josephine doing some rows. So I've discussed it before, but I like to train with everybody the day before the show if possible. Now, Saki, who came from Japan, and Kalia, who was coming from Idaho, were not able to make it to this gym session. And it's not something that, you have to do. There's Brooklyn. But what I like to do is just a light little workout. Typically with me, the carbs are going up. As you see here, Josephine's looking very lean. Haley's looking very lean. And so when the food is going up, you're trying to find that perfect place where the muscles are full, but still everything looks very tight. You don't want to overdo it. So what I really like seeing is the athletes in action. And Brooklyn on the leg press here, I could see her legs were really detailed. I think that's the best we've ever had her. The nice thing about this gym, especially on Wednesday, it wasn't very busy because the Arnold Amateur is not a huge show, and they have a really cool posing room downstairs. It's it's just a really private, quiet room with really bright, harsh lighting. So here you can see Haley working on her front pose. This is Josephine. So, after a little bit of a workout, getting down into the gym is always a perk for posing, because you get to see the physique at its best. This is Lisa. She's in the military. She was my master's competitor, and she had just done the Holiday Classic. So one thing I'll say about all the athletes that were at the show, I was very happy because they all looked the best I had seen them. And so one thing you can also do when you have a group of competitors is run them through comparisons, and kind of show them what the show is going to be like. Now, all the competitors here are seasoned, but everybody had their tie-ins in. Everybody was nice and full. I'm not doing diuretics. I'm not doing anything drastic. I am managing water and sodium and carbs and timing the pump. And this was Saki, who came to my Airbnb immediately after she landed on her flight from Japan. And she looked incredible, and it would show on stage. All right, guys, look who it is, back together again in Columbus, Ohio. And one of us is not running down the street naked. We're here looking at all the girls. Look who it is.
Ignore the ringing.
Get in the house.
They're gonna get rid of
It's
that,
an
right?
alarm. You're gonna get arrested.
All right, we're here to say Kalia and her.
Hi. I'm good. I'm great.
I got in a little bit late. Kalia and I have done pretty well together. I think we've won every show we've done. She's won her class at Junior USA's. She won her class at the amateur. Was it the Amateur Olympia? I'm trying to forget now. But so with her, what we're really, we won her class at the Arnold the year before, and we won an overall together at an NPC show. So, at this point, we're just trying to get her pro card, and her physique is phenomenal. She's phenomenal, just a great overall person. And, prep was going very well. Now, typically, I don't like to come into a show like this without having done a show, but with all her experience and how well we knew her physique, no problem. The only thing was with peaking for the first time, it can be a little bit unpredictable. But as you can see, she was very, very tight and full the night before the show. We did end up bringing her carbs up higher than I expected. On the peak week plan, I usually give a range of let's say 150 to 200 or 200 to 250 or whatever. So we actually went over that range as she was burning through carbs faster than I expected, which happens when you bring food up and pull cardio out, your metabolism kind of takes off. The thing with Kalia is her physique is a little on the muscular side, so we got to walk that line. I also went back and did a final check-in before bed. So I saw the girls after they trained in the afternoon. Then I saw them after all their meals were in. I saw Josephine there and I said, you know what? We need more food, and it paid off. We added a bunch more carbs for her. This was interesting. So this year, they actually had the men and the women compete together at the Arnold. So Sam Sulek, who is like a YouTube phenomenon, just a really well-spoken young man who's, he's been documenting his journey as a bodybuilder, and now he's competing. This was his second show. He did a show a few weeks before, qualified to come to the Arnold. So I will say this, he brought in a crowd because they don't usually do men and women together, but when he was on stage, the auditorium was packed. And I mean, this is a big auditorium. I don't know if I scroll back. And to his credit, he looked really good. I mean, I thought, man, he's got some huge legs. Videos like this don't always do it justice, but he looked incredible. So shout out to him for, I don't know much about his prep. I don't know much about any of that stuff, but this was Brooklyn backstage. The backstage area at the Arnold, it's very different than most shows. They don't let any coaches, they don't let any people back there. So this was Brooklyn showing me, and I was very happy. I thought her tie-ins looked fantastic. Yeah, unfortunately for Brooklyn, she was in a very tough class, absolutely the toughest class of the day, but we'll get into that when she's on stage. Here is Josephine, who looks incredibly improved from her last show, which was the Holiday Classic. She did win her class at that show, but her glutes are much tighter, separation in her detail and her physique, hamstrings, glutes, core, shoulders is all much better. So I was very excited for her to hit the stage. Really, it's exciting as a coach when everybody looks the best they can look. Here's a video I got with my phone just because, people will say like, oh, you got to look dry, you have to cut water. No, she was eating, I think 250 carbs, and she had already had like 100 ounces of water by the time she hit the stage. So you guys want to look hard, get lean, don't cut water. This is Lisa hitting the Masters and the Open division in bikini. And again, she had done the show again in December to qualify for this, and she looked remarkably better, right? So I was thrilled overall with how the competitors looked. All 6 of the girls that I had at the show looked the best they've ever looked, and that's what you can ask for. I will say that the quality, here's a different video of Lisa. They did have a nice area right at the athletes entrance where you could go meet your athletes and talk to them. For those that haven't been to the Arnold, the amateur show is where the pro show finals is. It's massive. It probably seats 15, 20,000 people or more. So you're walking quite a bit to catch up with everybody. And with the men competing, there was way more men competing than women. So it was a lot of waiting around. So, the thing about waiting around is you don't know how the physique is changing. So it's nice when they can come back over. You can see them in person, literally, probably 15 minutes before they go on stage, make that final meal decision, how much water to drink decision, when to pump up decision. So I tried to get some routines for you guys. Again, as a coach, doing multiple jobs, filming is not my priority, but this is Lisa doing her individual routine. The one thing that's nice about doing the Arnold Amateur, it looks like you're doing the pro show. These are incredible stage videos, and this is just footage from my phone. So if you get like the professional footage, it's spectacular. The lighting, the backdrop, all of it's really good. I probably try to move around a little bit from prejudging to finals. And this is Lisa in her master's class. This is, I'm trying to remember, but I think this was the over 35, like A class. Oddly enough, I thought she had this. I thought she was much more conditioned than the other young lady, but she ended up getting second. And I think they just went with the girl that had a bit more muscle. Here we are with Kalia. That transition pose there, when you see the glute 3D like that, that is a true sign of fullness. And she was very tight and full. Best I've ever seen her. I was thrilled. This is the look. We managed to bring her in very full and tight without giving her a grainy look. Like she didn't look striated. She obviously, pumped up properly. She didn't pump up her shoulders. And she looked right on cue. And now this is the class that she was in. All the way on the right is Haley. And then Kaylee is in the middle. And interestingly enough, I don't believe they moved a single person in this class. They literally left them out there. And the young lady that's next to Kaylee, as you can see, has a better structure, wider shoulders, wider kind of glute insertions. I thought Kaylee was, the better athlete based on her conditioning was a little better. She was a little tighter. I thought she had a better front pose. I thought the Saki had a better back pose as far as structure goes, but I thought it was pretty clear from the front she was winning if you look at the glute pop. So yeah, as a coach, you do get coaches goggles and you start to go, oh man, am I doing something wrong here? And we'll talk about the results in a little bit here, but Kaylee ended up taking second. And Haley, this was the first call outs. This class actually had 2 call outs, so this was just the first call out, but they didn't move them. This was class B, I believe. So, we knew we were first or second based on typically how judging goes at these type of shows. But yeah, I was thrilled. So I'll let you guys in on a secret. She didn't win. So she actually took second here, which, that's the first time I've ever seen Kaylee visibly upset. And rightfully so. She put a lot into this. She looked the best she'd ever looked. And I think any athlete's going to start to have some expectation when that happens. This is Saki, all the way from Japan. She did a show a few weeks before. She did actually a natural show. So she's a lifetime natural athlete. Very muscular, great shape. A few people mentioned to me, that her posing was a little bit exaggerated, but when there's only 30 or 40 girls at a show, they're not rushing you. These girls, you can take your time with your routine and enjoy a little bit. And I mean, how often are you going to be on this stage? She soaked it up and she looks incredible. Like you'll see she's splitting middle of her class too in just a second here. This is probably going to be Brooklyn. Yeah, so this is Brooklyn. Brooklyn and I have decided to try out the new division. So she's going to be doing fit medal division here in early 2025. And ultimately, it just came down to the feedback with her just kept being come in harder. And I think for the fit model division, she's got that wow factor where we're probably not going to have to get any harder, and she's going to fit right in without having to compromise, anything else that she's been doing. I think she's going to fit right in there. So, and then here comes Josephine. So Josephine just moved to Florida, so I get to see her with a little bit of frequency. Been coaching her for a few years, but this is by far the best we've ever looked. Shoulders are full and round, glutes are full and tight, waist doesn't exist. I think if anything, just a bit undersized as a natural athlete again. She's someone that could benefit from an improvement season, or we may switch and compete as a natural competitor in the future. We'll see. But what happens here is the class is class D, so they only did 4 classes. This was the most competitive class with, I would say, the best athletes, and you'll see why in just a second here. So the young lady all the way on the right in the purple suit, she was a big standout, and I think they move her right to the center, right there, number 176 it is, I think. They move her right to the center, and then they move my athlete, Saki, right to the center as well. Unfortunately, they swap her with Brooklyn. So, you're typically looking for top 2. And I think in this case, there's actually 9 spots. So that means there is a true center. When there's 9 athletes, there's a true center. So you're looking at the young lady in the blue is 1. Saki's either 2 or 3. Brooklyn is 4 or 5. And then same with Josephine. Josephine's 4 or 5. So overall, just, this was a really good lineup, really good competitors. Sometimes your athletes end up in the same height classes. Unfortunately, I had 3 of the top 5 here, I think, when it all ended. So now the look was, okay, can Saki get moved in here? How does she compare? And I think right off the bat, the thing I noticed about the young lady in the purple is her glute projection. She's got really good glutes, but I thought Saki was actually more muscular, had more upper body width, like better taper, more leg mass. The young lady in the purple looked a little depleted. I don't know her, but I felt like she was either flat or just, needs more muscle in that back pose. But in the front pose, you can see she's got the legs, she's got the shoulders, but she's also stunning. Like she's a great bikini competitor. So it would have been a tough task to beat her regardless. So yeah, and this is kind of how it shook out. Both of my girls that were fighting for it ended up taking second place. I found a local donut shop. I think it was in Buckeye Donuts that was across the street. Brooklyn's making a mess. So yeah, it was fun to just take a break, Yeah, and so I caught a video of Sam winning his pro card here. I figured I'd throw that in here. You know, he's a big deal in this sport, and it's pretty cool to be around for some of the bigger moments and to see people like that succeed. You know, congrats to him, and I hope he has a bright future. He just seems to be like a really genuine guy. This was the hard moment. You know, when they announced Kalia in second, I knew it was going to be a tough day. She was concerned all day that she was going to lose to the young lady Saki. However, I felt confident that Saki was actually going to be second just because there was 9. You know, and so Josephine took fourth, which is our best look ever. Now at the Arnold, what they do is they do an overall pose down with the top 4. If you remember my video from last year, Sam ended up getting second in the overall and winning her pro card. And so what they're doing here is I figured I'd just film the whole thing. You've got your A winner, your B winner, your C winner, and your D winner. So yeah, unfortunately, I really felt I felt she was the best competitor at this show. I felt she was the most complete. I think she would have compared very well in this overall. The young lady that beat her doesn't get her pro card. But I felt like if Kalia was in this overall, she probably does. And I actually know the young lady in the purple named Angie. I've seen her at a Florida show. She's really good. So there you go. Your overall winner was Class D and your other pro card was A. This is just some footage from the Arnold. I figured I'd show you guys around a little bit. It seemed like a bit smaller this year. I don't know. I've been going for 16 years. That's Josephine the day after. So yeah, you don't have to put on a bunch of body fat after a show. She actually just came and posed with me today. She's competing again here in a couple of weeks. So you don't have to wreck yourself to compete and be successful. So yeah, but the Arnold was fun. It was a really good experience this year. I really enjoyed the people I was with. This is the first call outs of Pro Bikini. There's only 10 competitors. So they did maybe 12. I think there was 12. So they did a first call out of 6. And immediately the standouts were Ashyln, Vania, and Amy Delgado. I had personally really thought Jasmine Gonzalez was going to come into the show and be competitive, but she came in maybe a little too hard. And you know, the standard for the bikini division, it's a fine line you got to walk. And Vania came in. If you look at the glute projection, her glutes have come way up the last couple of years. Her shoulders have come up, and she just has like some wow factor from top to bottom. So they literally separated these 3. I think they all got a first place vote, and the video's not gonna be any longer, so I'm just gonna spoil it for you. And if you don't know, sorry, you've been under a rock if you're watching bikini, but Vania ends up winning this, and pretty clearly these 3 separated themselves, and it was close. You know, I think Amy was the favorite. I thought Amy looked incredible. Ashyln looked incredible, but that's how close it is in Pro Bikini. So yeah, that was it for the Arnold for me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.